In order to be able to keep track of the stuff you've created, it's always good practice to properly name the things in your scene. Now, if having only a couple of objects on your screen, you certainly might be thinking that making the effort to put identifiable labels on things probably isn't the best use of your time. As your scenes grow more complex, though, and as the number of objects you've created start to add up, it just makes good sense to get in the habit of labeling things in a logical and organized way. Here's how that's done. This is a file named Naming Objects, which can be found in the Working Files folder. Let's open up the Select by Name list by typing H. Now, as you can see, with our current names, things are going to be awfully tough to be able to pull out of the list with certainly at least any degree of accuracy. Our scene will be much easier to work with if we start adding in a few names. Back in the view, let's go ahead and select the orange lamp base. We'll now move to the command panel on the right, opening up the Modify column. Up at the top, directly to the left of the wireframe color swatch, you'll see the base's current name. Let's highlight that and type in lamp base. Let's also label the lamp shade. We'll select it. Back on the right-hand side, we'll highlight where it reads Donut 001, exchanging that for lamp shade. Let's reopen the Select by Name dialog and see how things look. Notice that when renaming, I'm using names that make sense, not just some fancy name that sounds cool. Putting the proper, easy-to-identify label on what's in your scene is especially important when working on a project where a team of people are involved, in a kind of real-world production setting. Believe me, there's nothing worse than having to deal with a file where someone has used a personalized naming convention that makes little sense to anyone other than them. So if you're taking time out to name something, be sure to use a little common sense as to what you're specifically typing in. To show you a different way of naming, let's select the light bulb. Now, with your mouse, right-click, head down to the lower right-hand square, choosing Object Properties. Up at the top of the dialog under Object Information, you see that object's current name. You can rename directly in this list. Let's go ahead and highlight that, typing in lamp bulb. By the way, you can also change an object's wireframe color just to the right of that. Let's click on the yellow color swatch, changing it to blue. Over in the Modify column, you'll notice both the new name and the wireframe color change. 3ds Max also offers a nice little utility that allows you to name a series of objects using a common name that'll then be followed by a number. Back in the scene, let's window select all the parts of our table. Now, in the pull-down menus over on the left, open up the Tools category. In there, go about 2/3 down, choosing Rename Objects. Under Base Name, we'll now type in the name that we want all these objects to have. Let's type in Table. Then below that, where it says Numbered, let's go ahead and check that, which will serve to add a number to the end of each object name table. Now, once we've done that, down at the bottom, we'll simply click Rename. That's it. We can now close the dialog and reopen Select by Name, typing H. Take a look at that. All 5 objects that constitute the table have now been labeled with that name followed by a number. So there you go with a few different options with naming. Yeah, putting labels on things does take a little extra time, but it makes efficiently working in a project much easier in the long run.